So you said your mom died.
My second mom, she's tough. Not somebody you want to mess with.
My mom, though, she's a lot like your mom. You don't mess with her either.
Hey guys, Kiwi here. In this video, I'll be discussing the potential Carol versus Alpha confrontation going into Season 10 of The Walking Dead. With that being said, major warning of spoilers for everything in the show up to the Season 9 finale, and let's jump right into this. So, going into Season 10, who will contest Alpha? Currently, the survivors are trying to live alongside the Whisperers, I guess, and follow their rules of avoiding confrontation and not going across the border, but we all know that this won't last forever. Whether the Whisperers catch the survivors eventually walking past the border and into their territory again at some point during Season 10, or if Alpha will just, even simply make up her own insane reason for attacking them because, she's some crazy psycho and she's probably been planning on releasing the Mega Herd at them all along, and so we're gonna have to see them butt heads in the near future. And although that is generally, one entire group against another, there still should be someone to directly confront Alpha after all that she's done. I'll avoid comic book spoilers here just because it's actually a huge deal, but Negan gets free and goes to visit Alpha and the Whisperers in the comics, and I feel like the outcome of that will be different on the show if it even happens. I'll be doing a Negan Whisperer comic book spoilery video in the future, but in the meantime, just know that I feel like they'll be remixing the fate of Alpha and the Whisperers to be better than what happened in the comics, because Alpha and Beta had, amazing build-up and initial execution in the comics, and it's even stronger on the show, but about halfway through the comics, one thing led to another, and the Whisperers just sort of trickled out and fizzed away. In the show, however, I believe that Alpha and Beta will go on to terrorize during all of Season 10 in a new and original way never seen before in the comics. So, who will be considered Alpha's true rival during all of this? Although it was Alpha and Daryl who had the initial confrontation at the hilltop due to Lydia, along with near the end of episode 915 when Alpha actually showed Daryl the Mega Herd, it's just because he's the one who she knows, and Daryl only acted as a placeholder for Maggie and Rick since both of those were supposed to be for them, but they're obviously not in the show anymore, so they handed it off to Daryl, at least I guess in the writer's room. So although Daryl and Alpha kinda know each other the best, I guess, I feel like the spotlight is going to be switched towards Alpha and Carol for Season 10. Alpha and Carol have been compared throughout Season 9, and they haven't even met yet. Well, actually, I guess they technically met for a moment while Alpha took Daryl away, but it's not like they actually had a proper conversation between each other. They just kinda, they know what they look like now. And in my mind, Season 9 has perfectly set up Carol and Alpha to inevitably confront each other at least one major time before the Whisper arc ends in Seasons 10 and 11, and honestly, who knows how that's gonna happen, but first off, back when Lydia was still locked up at the Hilltop jail, Henry and her compared their two mothers. Lydia was just trying to get information out of Henry, but this unintentionally causes a great comparison that will no doubt return to Lydia's mind in Season 10, especially considering that she's still alive with Carol and Henry isn't. Lydia already knows not to mess with Alpha, but she'll soon learn why she shouldn't mess with Carol either, as the viewers all know. Now, with Carol losing herself and sort of reverting back to pushing people away during the loss of Henry, Carol is definitely unstable going into Season 10, and I'm excited to see her take matters into her own hands. Another bit of Carol versus Alpha foreshadowing happened during the Kingdom's Fair in 915, when Alpha creeps up on King Ezekiel in disguise as a woman from the hilltop. She tells Ezekiel that she hopes to meet the Queen one day, and it's extremely creepy and uncomfortable.
I heard the Queen was taking care of some official business, but I look forward to meeting her someday.
At the time, I was too focused being scared of Ezekiel's life, as he was a Pike death in the comics, and in episode 915 they were really playing us with who was going to get the death, Ezekiel or Henry. Now, I love the Ezekiel-Alfred confrontation because although there was, direct threat of Ezekiel's life being at risk, Alpha was also dropping other subtle, uncomfortable pieces of dialogue, such as mentioning that she's aware of Alexandria now, along with telling Ezekiel that she heard how the Queen is up to some official business, but that she hopes to meet her someday. This is all just perfectly set up for the Carol vs. Alpha arc in Season 10, and it's kind of funny because fans were already speculating on it all during Season 9, but then during the second half, all of this started piling on top of each other as icing on the cake. So in Season 10, I'd like to first see some sort of epic Alpha-Carol confrontation, even if it's just brief, foreshadowing how they'll later meet up again under different circumstances. I could see the first confrontation being in passing, and I'd in fact like to see a few teasers of Alpha and Carol intimidating each other or outsmarting each other one way or another before they actually face off against each other. So the exact way that Carol will overpower Alpha is still left up for debate, and who knows, maybe Carol won't even win the fight. Imagine how cruel it would be if we went through all of Season 10 just to have Alpha actually kill Carol off by the end of the season. That being said, not sure if that's gonna happen, and if Carol does end up getting the upper hand, it could just be due to brute force, but I feel like it will be due to outsmarting Alpha in some way, shape, or form. How crazy would it be if Carol ends up burning Alpha alive, which has kind of become her signature? Now, whether it's a form of manipulation that relates to the fact that they're both strong mothers and leaders, or if it'll actually be some sort of pre-thought out plan, or maybe just something, that happens by chance, there has to be some sort of trickery going into it. I just feel like this will be such a mind game in Season 10. Also, it's possible for them to have, some sort of hands-on fight, but again, I don't want it to feel contrived like that episode where Negan and Rick are chasing each other around in that building with Lucille, which eventually gets lit on fire. Yeah, that episode was cool, but it was just kind of unrealistic. Now, if Carol and Alpha were to actually verse each other one-on-one, I want it to feel like they're actually fighting for their lives, not just two characters with plot armor, kind of just throwing fake swings at each other. Carol will want revenge for Henry, or at least to confront the murderer, who's obviously Alpha. Now that Alpha has taken Carol's child, Carol has become the bigger person by choosing to not kill Lydia in the Season 9 finale, and Lydia was even begging Carol to, even giving her every excuse that she could. I feel like Carol and Alpha will continue to mirror each other in this way, obviously with Carol being good and Alpha being bad. That being said, will Carol actually stick to the high ground, or will she eventually be forced into a situation where she needs to play dirty? I find this whole Carol and Alpha counterpart discussion very interesting, and I'd love to hear what you guys think about it down below as well. Also leave any predictions for how you think the Carol vs. Alpha arc will form during Season 10, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet already for more Walking Dead content in the near future. I'd appreciate a like on the video if you've enjoyed anything I've said today, and check out my Patreon and follow me on Twitter as well, as I'm always posting everything I can involving the Walking Dead universe, links to both in the description. But anyways guys, as always, I thank you all so much for watching, and until next time, I'll talk to you guys later. Peace out!